10 things highly sensitive people, HSPs, do differently. Welcome to the Understandable Podcast, episode number 5. My name is Robert, and today we talk about what highly sensitive people do differently and how they experience things differently in their lives. Due to the increased perception, we remember the so-called increased sensory processing sensitivity, HSPs behave differently in some situations than non-HSPs. And at first, this can seem strange to others. But the highly sensitive person, him or herself, can also be insecure about this. Their own needs are then questioned and not infrequently denied. So, now let's dive into it in more depth and take a look at 10 of these differences. Let's start with number 1, the emotional processing. So, due to the strong perception of emotions, it usually takes HSPs longer to process them. As a result, HSPs often weigh up what they want or what they don't want, right? So you might know this. Even series and films on TV that realistically portray an interhuman relationship can be strongly empathized with. And therefore, even watching a series in a relaxed way on a Sunday afternoon can evoke a strong emotional response because HSPs emphasize so much with the characters in the series. We go on with number 2, which is truly loving from the depth of their heart. I think there is nothing that highly sensitive people can do as well as loving with all their heart. The strong feeling of emotions as well as the distinct feeling of empathy makes HSPs love very well. And other people feel this too. That is why they are often very animal loving as well. They cultivate deep and genuine relationships with other people and every other creature on the planet. They value loyalty and respect as particularly high values. Doesn't that sound amazing, right? But there is, as always, the other side of the coin, which is number 3, they hate from the depth of their heart. And that sounds crucial at first, but at the same time, HSPs can also hate wholeheartedly, right? And this is the flip side of high sensitivity. They sense extremely precisely what they don't like or what they like, or if they like something or someone, or if they don't like something or someone, right? There is just little room for tolerance or even a middle ground here. It's either yes or no, it's black or white, even if a tone of gray would be very helpful here. And because of the narrow comfort zone of highly sensitive people, even small changes on the outside can lead to a mood shift towards the direction of hate. Number 4, right? Making decisions. HSPs always have to be completely sure when making a decision. So spontaneous and impulsive decisions are rare for many of their kind. Maybe you experienced that before with yourself or your partner. And before a decision is made, all possible outcomes and consequences are usually calculated and played out in their mind until the end. They completely play out. And this can start with the choice of a new jumper, like even simple choices. And you can imagine that in your head, if you want to buy a new jumper, it starts off like, if I take the brown one, will it go with the blue trousers? What if I buy a green jacket in winter? How will it match with the jumper I would buy now? So the search is on for the ideal solution, obviously. And only then the decision is made with a good gut feeling. we go on number 5, which is a higher risk of depression and mental illness. So this is why, due to the increased perception and longer processing of emotions, negative feelings also have a stronger and definitely a longer impact on them. Studies show that HSPs are more likely to develop depression and mental illness exactly because of this. So maybe you notice from yourself, for example, when you feel strong joy, you are really absorbed by it. But deep sadness is also that strong that you kind of lose yourself in it and sink into it like into quicksand. You feel like getting lost in the emotion and you cannot do anything against it. It just kind of happens to you. And negative emotions can be extremely engaging because of this phenomenon. Number 6, reading other people. Let me ask you one question. What would you say on a scale from 1 very poor to 10 highly gifted? How would you say you are at reading other people? Because often HSPs are very good at sensing what another person's mood is like. It's like a kind of sixth sense here. They just feel it. They notice precisely when someone is pretending or keeping something secret from them. There is just a feeling that something may be wrong. The gut feeling, right, is their best guide. And this is exactly why close friends often trust their opinion and feel that they know them better than they do themselves. Number 7, they see way more details. So what I mean by that is many HSPs, for example, are very creative or musically talented. This is due to their colorful, diverse, and full of details, like inner world, and feeling comfortable to go inside and be incredibly strong, having an incredibly strong imagination are other characteristics here. Especially in music and also in painting and drawing and poetry, the recognition of smaller details comes to the fore here. Often others just stand by and ask, how do you do that? How do you see such details in the picture or the piece of music, the piece of art, the poem? And highly sensitive people cannot even explain it to themselves, right? They simply perceive the details and can reproduce them. So, however, this can also be problematic, as even little things, for example, in everyday life can lead to an over-arousal feeling. And as an HSP, have you ever tried to calm down or even fall asleep in a room with a ticking clock? So this is an example, like what others usually block out can be a detail that gets them down for HSPs. Next one, number 8. There is maximum empathy and harmony involved. So a core characteristic of many HSPs in their individual perception is above all the expression of empathy. Many highly sensitive people are very compassionate and can emphasize particularly well with their fellow human beings. And this results pronounced empathy experience in the end. However, because they feel so strongly and empathize with their fellow human beings, negative feelings are a dread to them. So, for example, discussion and argument are always associated with great effort for HSPs. And that is why they prefer to avoid these topics. It's based on an increased striving for harmony. Maybe you experienced that before as well. So as soon as resentment or disagreements are in the air, they do everything they can to end the conflict quickly. And then there is number 9, which is great overadaption and responsibility here. So for example, have you ever felt that especially close relationships are difficult for you? Do you feel easily crushed and as if you can only really be 100% yourself when you're alone? Because then you're over-adapted, like in your relationship. Maybe you spectated that before. HSPs do this because they learned early on that their sensitive nature is not always wanted, right? They heard, don't be so sensitive all the time as a child, right? And thus to try to adapt and pretend when they are around other people. They also take a lot of responsibility for the emotional world of those around them. Since HSPs can sense very accurately how others are doing, they want their loved ones to be doing well too. And have you ever had a sleepover visit from a friend and couldn't sleep at night? Maybe your head was telling you all the time, I hope he can sleep, I hope he's okay, or she, if I go to the bathroom now, will I wake him or her up? This is taking responsibility at the maximum level. And then there is number 10, the last one. Highly sensitive people are more active listening than telling. So most HSPs, especially the majority of the introverts, are listeners rather than tellers. It just comes naturally to them. They are often very strong by nature at being a good listener to others. And this is also because they have a good sense of what the other person most needs at the moment. Whether it is simply be a person to whom they can happily tell about their weekend, or when the other person is feeling really bad because they are sad. However, listening more than telling can also be problematic, of course. If you are always the one who just listens, there will be people who expect you to always have an open ear. And they may expect you to become their personal recreational therapist. As an HSP, then definitely make sure you also reveal yourself and tell them about yourself from time to time. Especially the communication of your own needs can easily be neglected otherwise. So what do you think? Do you also do things differently than other people? If you watch this on YouTube, definitely let me know in the comments. And if you don't want to miss any episode on this topic or other topics of mental health, definitely subscribe here to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. And if you want to leave me a message or send me some suggested topics or experts you want to hear an interview with, definitely feel free to reach out to me via email at info@understandable-podcast.com or text me on Instagram. You will find all the links in the description. Hear you in the next episode.